live. All right.
Hello, I am Darrien Dyrell, also known as the Sophisticated One. I am here with DaiTrell today. DaiTrell is releasing an album here titled The Journey Continues Healing. Hi, DaiTrell.
Hi, how are you?
I am very well. DaiTrell is my friend. DaiTrell, we met right after we moved here. And we met at an event, and I was social and friendly. I'm not as social and friendly anymore, but that's okay. I was really social and friendly then.
You are, but it's okay.
Don't tell nobody. And then, and so we just built a great friendship, and I go out to see DaiTrell perform here and there. We talk a lot of stuff together, and then we talk like serious stuff because he's a life coach, and so he'd be like, "What you doing?" And I'd be like, "Nothing." And then it like turns into something. I don't know how or why, but DaiTrell, thanks so much.
No, thank you. I appreciate space, your time, energy, all of that. So thank you.
Today is also brought to you by the Mahogany Project. Special shout out to the Mahogany Project.
Yes.
They are a nonprofit here based in Houston. It is a nonprofit based in Houston, focused on trans and non-binary lives, and focused on breaking that stigma and social injustice surrounding trans and non-binary lives. So special shout out to them, and special shout out to the work that they are doing. DaiTrell,
Yes.
tell the people that don't know anything about you something about you.
Something you don't know about.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a pretty open book. I feel like everybody kind of already knows everything.
All right, tell us something, and I'll tell you if they know that or not. Okay.
I really can't think of anything right now.
Okay.
That was a good question.
I'll take that. Your album, The Journey Continues Healing.
Yes.
Tell us about it.
It's pretty much self-explanatory. It's basically my life since I've moved to Houston, and just the process of healing and things you go through and things you figure out about others, things you figure out about yourself. And it's just kind of that process.
Okay.
And that's kind of what this body of work is.
I'll take that.
Yeah.
This is your third project. I think that, every project that we do, we learn something from, we grow in a different type of way. Is there anything that you learned or learned from this, like recording this album?
So this one is different.
Okay.
This album I did actually more composing work and actually meeting with producers and musicians and friends who helped, one of the musicians over there, who actually helped compose and actually put the music together. Like, funny story with that, one of the songs, again, I was beginning to learn how to play the piano. So I literally text Layla and was like, "Hey, can you can you play these?" Like, so send me back a recording of him on the guitar. So it's just me being a part of that process now. And so that's been the biggest difference with this album.
Cool. Do you like that process? Do you want to continue to incorporate being working with producers a little bit more?
I do.
Those sounds?
I do, only because before I would always write. I don't always write with music, so usually, I guess that's something people don't know.
Okay.
I don't write with music all the time, so I usually have the melody and the lyrics and everything how I want the song, and then because not knowing how to play any instruments, I usually have to find a beat that fits the vibe that I'm looking for. So again, this one is different because I was actually able to complete the whole process with what I initially heard in my head. So some of the songs, some of them I still got producers to send certain stuff for, but yeah, so.
That's what's up. You started this project off with an affirmation, and I wanted to know, why was that important for you?
So, it was very important, I feel like, with going through the healing process, affirmations and prayers is very important.
Okay.
And however you pray and whatever that means for you. And it just kind of sets the tone for the album of just getting in a place that's safe, getting in a place that's comfortable, because it's a ride throughout the album. So you get different feels, different emotions, different things. So yeah, so.
You talk about setting the tone for the album. What would you say that you want? What is the tone that you want to set for this album?
It's basically in the title. It's just healing. So embracing that process and that journey. And it's one of the things I've always said is not to fight the journey, but embrace it. It's not always easy, it's not always bad, but wherever it takes you, embrace it. So.
Okay. Would you say I listened to the album? I got a chance to listen to the project. That's what they say. I got a chance to listen to the project, and one of the things I wanted to know, you talked about at one point, you can't have me all the time on your project. Nah, no way. And like, what was your thought process behind saying that, or what were you going through to be like, I can't, or to come to that like awareness that you can't have me all the time, and what did that mean?
So that song actually came about with the producer Infinite. Was actually featured on the song as well. And it was a writing session that we did, and kind of took a piece of something that I had and a piece of something he had, and kind of meshed together from conversation.
Okay.
And basically, it's just kind of as the song talks about. It's just to give an example. I like people to kind of form their own kind of things while listening to the song, but
Okay.
I'll give stories sometimes. But it's mostly like just, you know, whether it's a relationship or friendship or whatever, but it's just like, this is literally taking a lot of my time. Like, I can't be me if I'm giving all of me to this. Like, I have to learn. So it's kind of learning balance. How do I now learn how to juggle the relationship or the friendship and being social and still keeping goals before me and all that. So that's kind of what that's about. So
I'll take that. Listening to this project, the phone started ringing on one of the tracks. And of course, I looked around because I thought that my phone was ringing or somebody's phone was ringing. Is there a song like, I like the telephone song where you call somebody up and y'all be talking, they be talking on the phone. Is there any songs that you grew up on that you enjoyed when they were like talking on the phone and stuff like that? Or what one comes to mind?
The one that came to my mind first was you were talking about it wasn't necessarily a fun song, but it's Tony Braxton. Just Be a Man About It.
Yeah.
They kind of start off the song on the phone. So.
Sure. I like that one. I also like Hello Barbara, this is Shirley.
That one's a good one too.
That is legendary.
Or Aaliyah. She did come over and like she was acting like, you know, but her phone was breaking up or whatever. So.
True. And Brandy and Monica snapped when they went back and forth on the phone. Right?
They weren't on the phone. They were at the door.
She
Jennifer
knocked on her
Hudson
door?
and Fantasia did it. Well, they kind of saw each other out somewhere.
Okay.
You know, it was like, hey, excuse me, can I talk to you for a second? So that wasn't the
right. You're absolutely right. But
Jennifer Hudson and Fantasia did it.
Can't think of the name of the song, but they did do it.
Yeah.
And it was good.
It was good.
It was good.
Kind of the remake of Barbara and Shirley.
Yeah.
You
know. You have a song on your album called So We Can. And I think that it also says so we can, and it's also saying I can, and like then we can. And it, for me, it just talked about this. It talked about like unity and partnership and what we're about to do. And this decision is about being my decision. Not only being if it's about we, it's also about me as well. And so, is there anything that what place were you coming from in that song?
So that is another song that begins some of the process of the healing part, where you start getting to some of those things. But it's basically just saying that, as you said, this healing is important for me. So if we're gonna do this, it has to be something that's important for the both of us. And knowing that we're both on our own individual paths, but we're also on a path together as well. So, and that's friendship, relationship. I mean, it's all a relationship, but whether it's romantic, platonic, whatever, all that. So,
sure, I like that. With your friendships, how do you differentiate the difference between the two, as far as like friendship and relationships? Do you handle your relationships or your friendships differently, or do you think you go into it the same way about even at like the healing process and journey and stuff like that?
I feel like they all have the core, basic, fundamental things of communication, respect, love. All of that is just, again, that's for any relationship, whether it is a friendship, whether it's a romantic relationship, whatever. Those are just the core principles. So I do like to keep those core those things as the core and the foundation, because they are important. But of course, you know, I think even in life, sometimes we associate with different friends differently. So of course we handle relationships the same way. It's like, yeah, of course this person gets a little more of me than somebody else would, or somebody else does. So it's also that balance and that juggle. So
I'll take that. I have a favorite song on the album.
Do you?
I do. I'm not gonna sing it because that's bad. But what I would do is talk about the idea of it's called like Drowning Shadow. Can you tell me a little bit more about that song?
Yeah. So that one is actually a cover from Sam Smith.
Okay.
And I kind of, the way that it was set as like a duet kind of thing. But that one is very personal.
Okay.
And came from a place, once you listen to the song, you'll kind of get a little more understanding, but it's kind of talking about a lot of the dark spaces in my life. Where, whether it's on an app, whether it's, going out, bars, club, whatever, but just being on that search for something, but that something is through someone. So it's just, you begin to drown those shadows in many different things. And it's also about, that song is also about self-discovery. It's like, I'm realizing what I'm doing or what I've been doing. Do I want to keep doing this? Or am I gonna, kind of how it says, am I gonna go home and just deal with me? Or am I gonna keep on this continuous search looking for something? Because, you try to fill that void sometimes. And it's like, it's like the itch that never stops itching. It's just like, you just know it's there. It's the kind of thing, so.
I like it too. One thing, it reminds me of this Adele lyric where she talks about the idea of like, to love, you have to lose. And so I think that when we talk about like loving ourselves and drowning ourselves in our love, do you think that with love, like you have to lose like a part of yourself, or?
I do. I think it's inevitable that it happens. Part of this healing process for me, I am also a dreamer. So, okay, now I'm thinking of all the things that people don't know about me. So, I'm a dreamer. So, like, being a dreamer isn't necessarily like goal dreaming, but just life dreaming. Like, sometimes visionary people call it prophetic, whatever, but just having visions or dreams about things and they happen. But throughout a lot of this process, I kept having these dreams or feelings of death. And so
I like that. I like that.
But
I'm sorry. I like death and funerals.
Like, but it forces, you know what? But it forces you to deal with your mortality at the same time.
Yes.
But what I had to discover, like, I literally started journaling in my, like, I told my best friend one day, I'm like, hey, look in this journal if something happens, because I've written out what you need to do, who to contact. But I began to learn that it was more of like a metaphor of what it was and what it meant. So it was losing those parts of me that I needed to shed and cut off in order for me to grow. So that's kind of what those dreams came to be about. So.
I think that's beautiful, and I think like it's a journey to love. It's a journey to healing, and I think that you have to figure it out for yourself.
Absolutely.
In healing, you have to. It's a thing that I don't think it's something you can force onto someone.
No.
You want to talk about that a little bit more? Because you said no, like strong.
Because you can't, like, I mean, because everyone's journey is different. Now, it's the difference of having a boundary. And again, sometimes when it is just that personal, you do have to make those certain decisions like, okay, maybe we're not going to hang out as much or whatever, because that's your individual process. But again, going back to so we can, it's about understanding that we're still on this path together at some point. If we end up merging and coming back together, then that's the story with it. But I don't think it's anything you can force, because everyone has their own individual journey.
Absolutely. And
they have to come to terms with that in their own time. And now that's not to say that you just let certain things go. But it's the difference of forcing it and actually like helping them through it, kind of thing. So I'll say that.
How do you help someone get to that journey of healing? Or like how do you be a friend to someone that you think you see like that's an area you need to be healed in? What do you think is your part as a friend, or how could you approach it as a friend?
One is very frustrating. Well, because it's like when you know that you're on a good path to something, and it's like you want everybody to come with you, and it's like sometimes you have to understand that everybody can't come at the same time. So one of the things I also say is sometimes you gotta leave people where their mindset is.
Okay.
They'll catch up eventually if they choose to. But I think that's the biggest thing of knowing also how to help someone. everybody has choice. So even something that I do as a coach is I'm there to help you, but I'm not here to do your work for you. So if you're allowing me to help you and I see that you're helping yourself, then we're good. But if you're wanting to use me as that crutch or to do your work, yeah, it's a no.
Sure.
So.
Okay. With healing, since it is about self and you have to make that decision for yourself, how do you believe that you're selfish? What you said that. Let me tell you what you said.
What did I say?
I thought it was all about you, but it's all about me.
Yes. So it is sometimes a selfish journey, but I think we're taught that being selfish is a bad thing. But we have to understand that there's two sides of being selfish. Yes, there is an egotistical, narcissistic, bad vibe of being selfish, and then there's I gotta take care of me. Because at the end of the day, if I'm not there for me, then who else will be? Granted, yeah, you have friends, family, people will be there, but at the end of the day, you still have to do what's best for you as well. So, because everybody's gonna do what's best for them, so you have to do what's best for you too.
Yes.
So.
At some point in the album, you said you gotta make your heart break. Why is that important in the healing journey?
So it's definitely a part of that process of actually letting it break. This is something that India talks about in one of her songs called Break the Shell. And in that song, she described how that song is actually about Cicely Tyson.
Okay.
And she was saying how, you know how older people, they just start hitting on you?
Child,
So Cicely Tyson did that to India, and she's like, let life touch you. So it's about going through that process and allowing to break down those walls that we build. Because a lot of times we're afraid of change. We're afraid of healing because healing brings change. And a lot of times people get comfortable in dysfunction. They get comfortable in just whatever chaos they were used to. So they don't like the change of breaking that shell. So it's speaking to that of you have to let your heart break so that you can be able to then push through and change to heal.
Yeah. When I think that sometimes we get our heart broken and it hurts. It hurts. I heard you sing this song live by India called Get It Together, and you do it really, really well.
Thank you.
And so, how do you get it together when you are heartbroken? Like, what's that next step, or what do you think that next step is?
For me, again, it's just saying don't run from it.
Okay.
Embrace it. And embracing that means that you feel it. And a lot of times we don't like to do that. So it's a thing so they're pulled from a lot of different inspirations. One of the things that Iyanla says is you have to get underneath the issue so that you can allow it to pass. So understand what it is, get underneath it, get that understanding while you're going through that. A lot of times, talking about heartbreak, we try to rush through it. Of like, oh, I'm good, or we put ourselves through a lot of other different things like, I'll work out, I'll do this, I'll do that, I'll do, to try to distract us. But it's like, take a day or two, or a week if you need to, and sit in that heartbreak and understand what it is you feel and why you feel that. So that way you can then know how to navigate through that.
That's real. You talked about this analogy with like butterflies and like ladybugs. And I want to know a little bit more about that analogy.
So, I don't remember why, but it was a random moment. I'll say that. It was, sometimes I like to just go out and sit in nature, and I'll just look around, or I'll just sit in the quiet and just listen to nature, or just watch nature. But when you watch ladybugs and butterflies, they carry themselves in a way that they just know who they are. But when you think about using a butterfly, for instance, the metamorphosis that they go through and the change from a caterpillar to a butterfly, that's also healing. And again, talking about to that death metaphorically and the shedding of who you were to become who you are. So that's the biggest piece of what butterflies and ladybugs means.
Okay. Butterflies. So let's go right there real quick. Sometimes when a caterpillar transitions into a butterfly, sometimes they don't make it. And how do you know, or how are you sure that, or are you sure that you are going to go to that next level? are you sure that you are going to heal? Or
I feel the only way to know is to do it.
okay,
So, and on the end of that, it happens.
yeah.
So, and I think even in that, it's also understanding that I think when we as people begin to feel like, oh, it didn't happen for me, it's because we compare what it looks like for me with somebody else.
Okay.
And that's not what it is. Like, your journey is not going to be like someone else's. Your healing process isn't going to be like somebody else's. It's going to be different. There may be similarities, because again, healing is about a path and going into a direction that we're all trying to heal, but how you get there will be very different.
Absolutely. I think that I like to think about a lot of times, like, some of us make it through things because we like train our mind to believe that it's going to be okay. When I think a lot about faith and people with faith backgrounds, it's like they know that they are going to be okay. They have this sense of belief that I'm fine. It's going to get better. What are some things that you say in your mind, or ways that you train your mind to know that, like, I can heal from this, or I can get through this?
Well, I think for me, in that it's because I feel for me, and this is gonna go deep, but I feel like trying to be overly positive,
Yes.
it's also traumatic. So, and it's a trauma response.
Okay.
To feel like, because going through that, it's like, okay, I gotta get through this, gotta get through this, gotta do this, but you don't take the time to feel
Yes.
what it is you're going through. So the biggest way that I do that is to make sure that it's about balance and finding that ability to go through each level of it and not just try to rush the process. So in that, to sum it up, it's dealing with reality. And a lot of times, if you're trying to just be overly positive, you're also trying to blind out or avoid the reality of what it is. And if you're hurting, you're hurting. That's okay. It's okay to hurt. It's okay not to be okay. It's, you're not always okay. And that's fine. So when you begin to deal with that reality, I think that helps to then not necessarily train to trick yourself that it's going to be okay, but to know it's going to be okay because you're allowing the process to take its course.
I'll take that. You spoke about this album being about like your last hooray here in Houston. Oh, did you tell everybody?
I have.
Oh, okay, cool.
I've been messaging.
Do you believe that you are healed?
Yes and no.
Okay.
I say that because it's healing. It's an ongoing process.
Yeah.
And it's evolution. And there are things that I could feel that I have healed from today that 2 years from now I'm like, hey, life comes tapping. It's like, let's revisit this,
Yeah.
So it's like, and that's not to say that you're not healed or you're not in a better place than you were, but it's just, and I think that's another reason why people sometimes feel like, oh, it didn't work for me. No, it worked because now you know how to get through it differently than you did 2 years ago.
Absolutely.
So those processes are different, but I do feel like there are a lot of areas where I have healed and I have begun to close some chapters and other chapters are opening. So it is that process. But
what have you experienced here in Houston or learned here in Houston that is going to take you on to the next level?
It's been a lot of faith, a lot of self-discovery, a lot of boundaries, a lot of letting go. Whether it's personal, professional, whatever, it's been a lot that I've learned here, and it's been a lot that I've dealt with in the 5 years of being here. So with that, that's why I do say it's kind of farewell Houston, because I'm beginning to open that new chapter of seeing what's next.
Yeah. What's next for you?
Well, my next biggest plan.
Wait, first I have to ask: are you gonna rest now after the release of the album? Are you gonna tour?
I would like to.
Okay.
But I know my mind is gonna be looking for something else to do.
Okay.
I really want to tour.
Okay.
So I'm gonna see if I can try to do that before I go down from Houston.
I'm with it.
So, but I will implement some resting, yes.
Sure.
So I will say even the past couple of days of preparing for the release, I've been able to get a lot more rest than I have been able to in the past couple of months.
Absolutely. So what's next?
So next, I am going to be going back to visit North Carolina for a bit, saving up, planning, and then going to London. So,
are you excited?
I'm very excited, but also nervous. It's something new. It's something different.
Yes.
Never been to London a day in my life, but I'm gonna go. So.
Yeah. Why London?
I've kind of always wanted to go. One, it's just a thing that sometimes American artists do better overseas. So that's one of the reasons. And then just wanting to open myself up to something different and something new. And I feel like the biggest part of my life that I've been able to get to where I am now happened because I moved to Houston, away from my family, away from what was comfortable to me. So having that something new, it forces you to see how you'd react and do in different spaces and seeing who you can become. So
that's beautiful. Speaking of, I think the people need to leave Kelly Rowland alone because they say she need to do more, but she done well overseas.
yeah, she's real good.
And did her thing overseas.
She always does.
Leave her alone.
Absolutely.
She ain't gotta make American music. People, that's for y'all.
Leave my DC girls alone.
Please. It was nice talking to you, DaiTrell.
It's great talking to you as well.
I love you down. Is there anything else you want to close with?
I think that's pretty much it for me. You've got it and pulled everything out of me.
Thanks so much, guys. I am Darrien Dyrell, also known as the Sophisticated One. Special thanks to the Mahogany Project as well. Special thanks to DaiTrell for putting together an amazing project. And I'm super excited for everyone else to hear it. And I hope that it not only have helped you on your journey, but I also hope that it helps someone else. Thanks so much, y'all. Love y'all down.
Peace.
Woo!